Yo, what's going on, everybody? We got episode number 3, technically,
Yup.
on the Chau Codes Podcast now. Okay, again, let me just reiterate this. This is now the third time I've changed the name, but this is it. This is the last time that I'm changing it. It's going to stay to this. But today I'm bringing on someone who I literally just met maybe like a couple weeks ago. I think
Yep.
what, Rich, you found me on on one of my YouTube videos?
No, actually, I think I saw it on Krishan's. So I was like,
Oh,
actually, no. So my friend sent me one of his videos. I forgot which video, and I kind of seen him in the past. And then I saw your guys' podcast, and I listened to it. And I was like, yo, man, we have very similar backgrounds. So that's when I reached out to you on Instagram.
How did you figure out I worked at Central, by the way?
Dude, I'm on the computer all the time, so I think I looked you up on LinkedIn, and then I
Oh,
was like,
gotcha.
oh, this dude's from Central Computers. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh man, I
yeah, yeah.
worked there in 2013.
Yeah.
So I
All
was like,
right.
oh, I
So
got to reach out to this guy.
I love it, dude. So yeah, I met this guy commented on my YouTube video. I forget which one, but then I reached out to him on Instagram because I saw he followed me. And then we kind of just chatted it up. So Rich, last name is Bustos. Is that how you say
Bustos.
it?
Yep,
Yeah.
Bustos. Yeah.
So we chatted it up. We both have very similar backgrounds, except he made it as a software dev, especially early on, right at 20 years.
hmm yeah, I was only 20 years old when I
Damn,
became a software engineer. Yeah.
Jesus. All right. But we both have similar backgrounds. It's kind of crazy how similar it is. We both worked at the same store early on in our careers. I worked at different locations, same store. Um, then after that, we both went into IT support, right? You went
Yep.
into IT. I went into IT, and then he went on to become a software dev at LinkedIn at the age of 20, which is actually crazy. Um, so let's talk about that. So
Yep.
let's go back to Central because I'm
hmm
curious to know what the thought process was and to see if it was similar to mine. So what
Yeah.
made you go to work at Central Computers in the first
Yeah,
place?
so to be honest, I'm gonna even go before that.
Okay.
Dude, high school, I didn't know much tech. Yeah, I knew how to use a computer, but I wasn't even tech savvy with a computer. It wasn't until after high school I kind of didn't know what I wanted to do. I actually wanted to get into the Air Force. Didn't get into the Air Force because I had asthma, so I like it. My world kind of just flipped upside down. So I was just trying to figure out what I was gonna do. I had an uncle who worked in IT, and he kind of told me like, you this is a pretty cool path to get into. You get to work with computers. It pays well. So I was going to community college. I was going to Skyline Community College to learn IT, and I was kind of trying to look for my first step into like that world. And I saw a listing on Central Computers. I wasn't really into gaming, but when I walked into the store, it had like all these cool like graphic cards and all these peripherals. And even when I applied, I still wasn't very techy. So I decided to just shoot my shot. Luckily, the people liked me over there, and that's how it all started. I just started working at Central Computers. I was there for only 6 months. Some people that came into the store were asking me all these like crazy questions, which I didn't really know how to answer. So I decided to quit after 6 months.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
But you didn't make any like connections or anything like that through Central, right?
No, no.
Okay.
So, if we talk about, how I got into software engineering, I mean, that's even a crazier story.
Dude,
So,
I listen, yeah, we got to get into that. That's a crazy
yeah.
story.
So, as you know, after high school, wasn't techie. Even when I was working at Central Computer, still wasn't techie.
Mhm.
After that, I continued to go to school. I was doing my GEs at Skyline Community College. I was also after I worked at Central Computers, I found another job. I worked at Radio Shack, and that's currently not on my LinkedIn profile because, like, why would I put Radio Shack on my LinkedIn profile? But so after Central Computers, I worked at Radio Shack, and on my way to work, I heard this ad on the radio, and there was a program called Year Up. And have you heard of Year Up?
So I haven't heard of Europe until I listened to a podcast that you were on, and I looked it
Oh,
up, and
okay.
it looked pretty interesting, but I still don't have
Yeah.
a full grasp of it.
Yeah, yeah, no, I could definitely talk about that as well.
Yeah.
So, as I mentioned, so I think I was 18 at the time. Heard this ad about Year Up, and one of the catchphrases was, "You will you'll go to school and we'll pay you." And I thought it was one of the scammiest things that
Wait,
I've
Year
ever
Up pays
heard.
you?
Y- Yeah, Year Up pays you to go to school. And
Okay.
yeah. So it's and I'll get into it. So Year Up, if anybody's wondering, go to yearup.org. So what it is a vocational school. It's nonprofit. And what they do is for one whole year, the first 6 months, they teach you about IT, and the following 6 months, they put you into an internship. And this program is for underconnected youths. So, as I mentioned, like, after high school, I didn't really know what I was doing. And even during high school, I was like maybe a C average person. And, I just downloaded my transcript like a year ago. And I was just looking at my grades. And it was so bad. And the reason why I even passed high school was because I wrestled, and in order to be eligible, you need to have like a 2.0.
Yep.
So that's the only reason why I actually passed and graduated high school. But essentially, I went to orientation at Europe, and they showed like a montage of video where past students of the Europe program, they interned at Google, Facebook. They had all these free foods, and I was like, oh my goodness, I need to work in tech. So I tried my very best to get into the program, and the program is pretty rigorous. I mean, not even getting into sorry, not the program itself, but getting into the program was pretty rigorous. I had 6 interviews. Um,
Jesus.
yeah, like I mentioned, it's for underconnected youth. So it's the way to get in is, your family, your household income needs to not reach a certain amount. You need to not have a college degree. You need to, it kind of pushes you to the direction where you want to go. So ultimately, I was chosen out of, I think, like 700 people to get into this program. I got into the program. The first 6 months, they taught me IT support. I wasn't working at retail selling computer parts. I thought it was difficult, but learning how to like fix computers was was even harder. So
Yeah.
the first 6 months, they taught us how to do IT support. So changing RAMs,
Mhm.
troubleshooting. So the goal of the program is the first 6 months they teach you IT support, and then the following 6 months they put you into an internship at these like big companies. So fellow colleagues of mine went to Google, went to Facebook, went to all these other companies. So luckily, I got chosen to intern at LinkedIn. And at LinkedIn, I was a help desk support. So what I did was I helped employees, fix their computers. If they had like issues with their, laptops or their company-owned devices, I would help, troubleshoot them. And I
Mhm.
was there for about 6 months. But towards the beginning of my internship at LinkedIn, I actually met a web developer named Flo. And as I was helping her, fix her computer, I noticed that, she had a code editor open, and I kind of, you know, picked her brains like, oh, what are you doing? And she told me that she was an engineer, but focused on front end. And I thought that was really, really intriguing. I saw these, bunch of, numbers and letters, and she told me like, yeah, if you do this, if you do that, it it becomes this web page. And I thought that was super cool. And so I told her I was in this Europe program, and I told her that I was only going to be here for about 6 months. Would you be able to teach me this? And she, like, I don't know her thought process, but she was really excited to have this young kid be under her like wing and kind of learn web development.
Mhm.
So this is maybe like 2 months into my internship. So from, like I mentioned, the whole internship was 6 months. So for that 4 months of internship, I was kind of known of this kid from Europe who's learning how to code. And it got so big that the director of web development heard about me, and he sent me an email saying, hey, I heard you're this kid who is from the Year Up program, and you're taking extra time after your internship to learn about web development. Why don't you just come in for a chat? So I spoke to the director of web development, and I kind of told him like my story, how I'm from this Year Up program, and I guess he really liked my demeanor. I guess
Mhm.
especially since I was putting in extra work of my internship plus learning web development. So he actually told me like, why don't you just come in for an interview? It'll be super laid back. Just I'm gonna have one of my direct reports just talk to you, and let's ask you some questions. So at this time, like when I was learning web development, I only really knew HTML and CSS. I learned a little bit of JavaScript, but like JavaScript was just like way over my head, dude. Like I even till this day, I've been an engineer for about 7 years. Like all the new stuff that's coming out, I still have to take time to really understand it. But so I went in and spoke to his direct reports, and they kind of gave me like a mini interview.
Mhm.
And like I always tell this story because it's so crazy. So one of the managers asked me, I want you to create your own add class function. And dude, I did not know what that meant. So I wrote out an HTML element and put class equals and then the class, like a class name. I literally did that. And then, in my head, I thought like, oh yeah, dude, so this is super easy. I got this. And then he told me, no, 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 I need you to write JavaScript. So at the time when jQuery was really big, LinkedIn was using jQuery. It's, like the whole add
Mhm.
class method. So
Yep.
he basically wanted me to create my own function of add class. And I was like, to be honest, I don't really know JavaScript. I really only know HTML, CSS. But what I said was, if you give me a week or a couple days after this, meeting, I'll go ahead and figure it out. And I left that interview, and I gave him an answer through email, like maybe 2 days later. Didn't hear back from the director of web development. Didn't hear back from that manager until 2 weeks later. 2 weeks after that, I got an email from the director of web development, and he said something along the lines like, "Hey, I know you're interning for this, IT position. I know that." So at the time during my internship, I actually had a job offer in the IT department at LinkedIn, but
Mhm.
he said, like, we know that you're still fairly new and you didn't do so well in the interview, but we really like you and we see a lot of potential in you, and we want to offer you a full-time position as a web developer.
Dude,
And
that's
that's
so
kind of like,
crazy.
yeah, and that's kind of how it started. Yeah, I mean it's crazy, and I've been an engineer for about seven years now. um yeah, just super super crazy. And I actually jumped. I left LinkedIn last year. I did a startup called Keep Truckin', located in San Francisco, and
Mhm.
currently back at LinkedIn.
So you hit a
But
little boomerang.
yeah, yeah, I was a boomerang. Yeah, it's
Damn.
funny because when I talk to people and I tell them, yeah, I boomerang, they don't know what that means unless you work in tech. Like, so I
I
tell like my
I
family,
feel
like, oh yeah,
yeah.
boomerang, but they're like,
Yeah.
boomerang, what does that mean?
Is that like a I feel like it's a Silicon Valley tech, like, lingo, I almost feel like, because I know
Dude,
Bay
I
Area,
think
we
so.
have this, like, weird lingo that no one, like, really understands. So I
Hmm.
almost feel like boomerang is, like, part of that, but just in the tech
Yeah.
world.
No, for
Um,
sure. Probably.
I mean, I've heard it so many times, and just being in tech for so long, it's been accustomed to me, but, like, dude, I've listened to that story before,
Hmm.
and, I mean, that's just crazy to me that,
Yeah.
that like, it just shows you and every viewer that's listening right now that, like, crazy things are possible if you
Hmm.
just put yourself to it. And I feel like what you had was like this huge eagerness to learn something.
For sure.
Um, and you just put yourself to it. And I mean, from the stories that I heard from you and on the other podcast that I listened to that you sent me was, you were putting in the work. Like, you were at the office at 6 a.m. learning
Hmm.
while you were still interning.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to make everything work. Like, for me as well, just to get into tech, I had to work at a retail store, which was Central,
Hmm.
for a
Yep.
year just to, like, understand what what the business is like, what everything, like how everything kind of works, and then just kind of get my foot in the door. And like, thank God that everything worked out. And then I was at the position I was at last year. So same thing goes for you. You know, you were in IT support, and then now you're making this huge rotation over to software development,
Hmm.
just by talking to somebody. You know what I mean? Essentially, that's what it
Exactly.
was. Like, that's
Exactly.
really all it was. And then just putting in the work.
Hmm.
So there's really nothing crazy to it other than, hard work, which is what
Yeah.
I try to preach to everybody in my audience in terms of Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff. And now here, that's all you need to do. And you don't need to know everything. I mean, like for Rich, he didn't know JavaScript and he still got a job,
Nope. Yeah.
which is nuts. Like I, I legit got goosebumps the first time I heard the story. I was like, yo,
Yeah. I mean,
that's crazy.
yeah, man, it's really all about networking. And if like to be honest, like I've interviewed so many candidates for LinkedIn. Like, dude,
Hmm.
it was crazy. So they put at LinkedIn, since it's a big organization, they already put you through the interview process. I think after a month that you've been working there. So I was interviewing candidates who knew like a lot more than I did. I mean, even now, like I still get that. But
Yeah.
dude, it's like how the heck am I interviewing this dude from Stanford? I honestly like the questions that I'm even asking him. I don't even know what I'm asking. So
Yeah,
it's
for
really
sure.
all about who networking, showing hard work, dedication, and things like that.
Hmm.
And to be honest, like I mentioned, like I interview a lot of candidates for LinkedIn. Like 100% of the time, I would choose someone who I would have a good time working with than someone who's a know-it-all and who's just like a jerk. And I think
Well,
uh,
so
yeah.
that's so I feel like that's so key in any team, regardless of whether it be software development or things like that. Like even like sports teams. Like
Hmm.
I would choose a person that, as a whole, if I have a team of 5 people with me and we're trying to add on another, I would take the person that meshes well with every single person, more so than the person that like
Oh, for sure.
can achieve that task a lot faster and a lot better and probably more optimal. Like that's in that aspect, I feel not it's not the least of my worries. Obviously, I want that kind of person, but
Mhm.
if I can't have team members mesh well and there's no chemistry, well then our job's going to be kind of shitty at the end of
A
the
hundred
day.
percent.
Right? Like communication is down, like no one's going to want to talk to each other. It's just going to feel awkward in the office or on meetings or things like that. So that I completely like can get behind for sure. And I think that mentality in terms of hiring and onboarding is so key. Even though I'm not like in a position, or I ever had a position as a software dev, I still think that that's so key.
Oh, you're gonna get there, man. Like um, dude, like I only studied web development for 4 months before I got a full time position. And even when I got that full time position, like I think for about a year, I didn't really know what I was doing.
Dude,
So
for
it's
sure.
yeah.
Like, but that's the thing is, it's that door opens so fast for you, which is
Hmm.
so sick to me.
Yeah.
What and that's the other thing is that we should definitely like reiterate is that the opportunities open at different times and intervals for everybody. Um,
Exactly.
like you see, and I talked about this in the previous podcast episode with Chris, is that you see these people who, like yourself, you had 4 months and then you're in. Other
Hmm.
people maybe take 2 years or 5 years or things like that. So you shouldn't get discouraged when the door isn't open yet. The keyword is yet. Like the door
Hmm.
will open. You
Hmm.
just got to keep working. Like you can't put yourself into this negative headspace to where, like Rich got it in 4. Like, I don't know if I could do it. Like, this is stupid, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
you just can't
No,
do
for
that. You
sure.
just have to be super hopeful that that time will come, and it will. And like you said, I mean, I hope it will.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, you just got to keep on working. But that's crazy, man. So you're still at LinkedIn now, right?
I'm still at LinkedIn. Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I currently work on a project called Underconnected Youth.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't released it just yet, so I'm not sure if I could talk too much about it, but I could kind of give you the gist. Um, and then maybe I could just back up a little bit of why I came back to LinkedIn. So
Oh, sure. Yeah, yeah.
prior to that, yeah. So I was working at LinkedIn for about 6 months before I left to go to a startup called Keep Truckin', and So during my 6 years at LinkedIn, I had a great time. It was awesome. I learned a whole lot, and that's pretty much what gave me my jump start to my career. I got married last year, and I kind of told
Congrats.
myself like, "Oh, thank you, thank you." I always told myself like, before I have kids or even before I get married, I always want to do like a startup or at least join a startup. So
Hmm.
I left LinkedIn, um, and I think this is public. So LinkedIn uses Ember, and the talk of town is React. So I always wanted to be part of a team that uses React. So I joined a team called Keep Truckin'. I was the lead engineer there.
Whew.
And yeah, so I was the lead engineer there. I had three other engineers below me, and we led a project for design system. If you People who are kind of new, and you don't know what a design system is, you could think like Twitter Bootstrap or Google Material. That's a design system. So
Mm.
we needed to create a design system internally for the company, and I was the first hire there, and I kind of led that project. It was really fun. I got to call the shots. I got to create the architecture of this design system, and I got to lead three other engineers, which was awesome. But knowing my background, my manager actually reached back out to me and told me about this really cool project that's happening called Underconnected Youth. And since he knew that I came from an underconnected youth background, and he knew that I don't have a traditional background in, say, computer science or, even being in this, career. So he actually recruited me to come back to LinkedIn. And, I thought to myself, dude, this is something that, that's really cool. And I kind of want to be a part of. And so ultimately, that's the reason why I went back to LinkedIn working on this project called Underconnected Youth. And essentially what we're doing is we're trying to get um, underconnected youth onto the LinkedIn platform and connect them with compassionate connectors. So, for example, since I kind of work at LinkedIn and I work at this corporation, what LinkedIn is trying to do is to bridge that gap to help me connect with underconnected youth and kind of help them and mentor them and get them to the right path that they want to be. So I'm really excited about this project, and yeah, can't wait to release it.
Dude, the cool thing about that too is that I feel like it's close to your heart because you started in a program that essentially does that,
Exactly,
and got
exactly.
got you to where you are. So I feel like that's even better. It's almost like a passion project, but it's still part of
Yeah.
your full time job, which is like the best combination in the world.
Oh, for
You're getting
sure.
you're getting paid to do something that you're super passionate about, and
Yeah.
in at the end, you're also helping people that were you at one point. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
um,
Hmm.
which is probably the best feeling in the world. Which, to me, is something that I want to do as well and want to get into. Is I want to help people like that come from the same background or who are in the same positions as me. You know what I mean? Like that
Yeah.
feeling of knowing that they could make it too, and when they do, it's like, oh, that's that euphoria you get is crazy. Like,
Oh, yeah, for sure,
dude.
man.
But that's awesome. So let's backtrack a little bit.
Yeah.
So you didn't finish college, right?
I did not finish college. No.
Okay,
I got up
yeah,
to two
go ahead.
years. I was actually working at LinkedIn and trying to finish my what's that called? Like in college where you just get like the prereqs. So I did get to finish like my prereqs and
Should be
stuff like
GE
that.
or
Or
associates, right?
GE. Yeah, yeah. No, I didn't get an associates, but
Okay, okay,
GE. Yeah,
yeah.
dude, I haven't been in college for so long, so I don't even know like all the right terms. And I was only there for like a year and a half, so
Me too.
I don't yeah, I don't really know too much about it. But yeah, so I didn't get to complete college.
And okay, so we're both pretty much in the same boat. I went to community college. You went to community college. We didn't finish. We don't have a degree. Um, I don't even think I finished my GE. Like there was a, I think I still have a couple classes left, and they were math, and I was like, nah, I'm good.
Oh yeah.
Um, so do you feel like just like I want you to answer this question because this is such a huge topic in our community, and definitely in the developer space. Is that do you feel that you were lacking in any way because you didn't have a college degree, specifically in like computer science or anything like that, while you were on the job at LinkedIn?
I would say yes, but the only reason why I say yes is because I think it was a mentality thing. I always
Mm,
put myself down like, yeah, I'm not good enough because I don't have a degree. But ultimately, like, I don't think, and I've been told multiple times that, a lot of these people who do have a computer science degree, it didn't help them, especially in like front end development. Like, I don't
Yeah.
think at colleges, I don't think they teach like CSS. You know what I
No.
mean?
No.
So that's kind of a difficult one to answer, but I would say yes in the sense of, just like a mentality purpose. Like, imposter syndrome is so real.
Oh
Even
God.
till this, yeah, even till this day, dude. Like, I'm like, dude, when are they gonna find out that I'm a fake?
Dude, but
Yeah.
that's the thing is, regardless of a college degree or not, I feel like
Mhm.
even if we did, we would
Mhm.
still hit that point of imposter syndrome.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
but that's an interesting perspective because I never saw having a college degree would
Mhm.
affect you that way. I always thought of, there might have been some sort of topic like algorithms or data structures within like a college curriculum where maybe a self-taught developer felt that they were lacking in that space.
Mhm.
Or I guess that's probably like one of the main things is what I see for
Yeah.
people when we talk about college degrees. But that's interesting that it puts you into that mentality.
Mhm.
I never really thought about that, which is probably again really huge for self-taught developers because yes, you feel. I guess when you're applying to jobs, you feel at the bottom of the stack essentially because you're applying against people who do have that piece of paper.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there's a stigma and a bias towards people who do have one. They might get priority, which sucks. But
Mhm.
I feel like the cool thing with bringing people in to this podcast, especially you and Chris and many others, is that you were able to do it without one.
Mhm.
Um,
And like, sorry to cut you off, but like,
no, you're
even
good.
even without me, like, I've been on the other side, and I've seen people who were on the other side and came to my side, which is, working at LinkedIn. And it's the same thing. Like, there are so many people who don't have a college degree who still work at LinkedIn, and it's just, you just need that one shot, man. Like, I
Dude.
don't know, I don't know how that happens. It's either a good resume, because before I even speak to a candidate, they always have to go through a filter process with the recruiter. So there's that, like, that one step that you need
Mhm.
to reach, and I don't know what that one step is. But once, ultimately, if you're a good engineer, all you need to do is somehow just squeeze your way in after the recruiter.
Yeah. And then you can kind of start selling yourself. But
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, that one
Exactly.
step is so different for everybody.
Mhm.
But like, I'm sure you've heard this too, and many others. But it's you just need one yes. Like
Yes.
that's
Mhm.
all you need, and then you can make the rest history. But the rest is up to you. It's not going to
Exactly.
happen for you. So don't
Mhm.
expect like once you get okay, come in for an interview. It's oh okay, like I'm in, like we're good.
Mhm.
Like you still
No,
got
you
to
gotta
do
work.
some in the interview. You still got to
Yep.
put in work until
Mhm.
you get that job opportunity. Like as a self-taught dev, once you put like an actual job in your experience as a software dev, bro,
Mhm.
like it's just downhill from not downhill, but I mean like
Uphill.
uphill.
Yeah.
Uphill. Like
Yeah.
getting a job is going to be a lot easier for you. You don't have
Oh, for
to
sure.
like go crazy with these projects anymore. You don't have to market yourself like crazy anymore. I mean,
Mhm.
it'd be nice to do, but
Mhm.
again, all you need is that one yes and then job opportunities will just start coming your way. Like it's crazy. But back to your point, it's also realizing how many self-taught developers are in the industry right now at big companies like yourself, at LinkedIn, like you mentioned, at Microsoft, all these different companies that are now accepting self-taught developers.
Mhm.
It's a crazy time right now to believe that you don't need that piece of paper no more
No.
to get into the space. Like
Mhm.
for me, especially, that's reassuring because I never believed in school for myself. I was never a good student. I didn't like schoolwork.
Same. Yeah. Same
Like
here.
the pacing that you had to go through, the work that you didn't feel like you had to do and really didn't.
Mhm.
I didn't enjoy that. So dropping out was might have been the best thing I've ever done.
Mhm.
And then going this route is definitely reassuring. And then talking to developers like yourself is super reassuring in that aspect,
Mhm.
especially because you're in the space.
Yeah, yeah, and dude, like, you know what I like? So I looked at your GitHub profile, and
Mhm.
you created that. I forgot the name of it, but it's with like the NBA player
Oh,
stats.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I was like looking at this, I'm like, dude, this is like super well written. You know what I mean? So and like
Thank you.
it's those things. It's like all you need to do is just like I mentioned, just get that first shot and like speaking with a recruiter, and then after that, when you get to showcase your engineering skills to an actual engineer, it's gonna be cake. You know what I
Dude,
mean? So
yeah.
it's just you man, I don't know what to tell you or like other people. Just keep building out projects, like build your portfolio, build as many projects you can on GitHub, and
Mhm.
like someone like me, and I even told you this, like, dude, once the hiring freeze gets lifted, I'm gonna refer you. You know what I mean?
Dude, thank
So
you.
yeah,
Yeah.
dude, it's like it's just those things. Just keep building stuff.
Yeah. And, not to mention, for everyone else out there, obviously building things is the main factor in terms of getting a job as a developer, if that's the route you wanna go.
Mhm.
Um, but also marketing, I think is a
Mhm.
big thing. And, don't take that as like a like business marketing. Like you need to make your presence known to these recruiters, to other people in the community. Like Instagram is a huge thing. Twitter is a huge thing, there are so many developers in the space that you can connect with just to get your name out there. You're like, yo, like I talked to a bunch of people on Instagram, Rich is included, on like I said, on Instagram and on Twitter, and I just, start a conversation. I'm like, "Hey, I'm Justin. I'm running this thing on social media. I'm also becoming a self-taught developer. It's nice to meet you. I'd love to talk in the future." And that's it. Like I'm just letting you know I'm here. Like I'm starting the conversation for when opportunities come up. They might remember me, and if they do, great. They're gonna, offer me an opportunity, refer me to a spot, something like that. So that's one thing you need to do. And Rich said it before, it's networking. You just need a network. LinkedIn, social media, Indeed, or well, not Indeed. That's like a job listing posting, but
Mhm.
put yourself out there, make your presence known, which is very, very key. So, and obviously, Rich just talked to people and like just killed the game. Like he's in it right now, which is crazy.
Yeah.
I'm actually curious. Um,
Mhm.
do you still build side projects while working?
I do. I do actually. I don't do it often, but um, LinkedIn uses Ember, and if I want to be like up to date with things, I do want to like learn all the cool front end stacks that are out there. Like so, I do build like side projects on React. I play with Vue a little bit, but nothing too big.
Mm,
I'd like to though, but I'm married, so
I
a
feel
lot of
you.
the free
I
time
feel
I
you.
have, I spend it with my wife. And then of course I like to chill, and I have like other hobbies like jujitsu,
Yeah,
and things
yeah.
like that. So I'd like to, but at the moment I don't do it so much, and I do so much of it at work anyway. So I like to step away from
I
kind
got
of
you.
coding. Yeah.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, because that's the other thing is that I feel I always had this in the back of my mind, and I always wished it didn't happen and hope it doesn't happen. But at whatever time I get a software engineering job or whatever it is,
Mhm.
my passion then becomes a full time job, and the balance between mental health and your job now switches.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like before, I don't have a job right now, so this is my passion. Like I just code to code because I love to do it. And then once it becomes a job, then well, how do I balance that? How do I go about that? How do I switch that gear between okay, this is work, this is what I love to do. It's
Mhm.
now one thing, so how can I differentiate that?
Separate, yeah,
You know what I
separate.
mean? So, and then I know we talked about it, is that you're kind of falling out of that.
Yes, yes.
Um,
So I'm not even sure if I said in the last podcast, but yeah, I am kind of falling out of it.
yeah, and but that's the thing is like the differentiation between passion and full time job is I feel hard, and I feel like a lot of unfortunately a lot of creators and things like that do the same thing. Filmmaking, for example, or photography, for example. You do it because you love it, and then when you get hired on to do it, now you're forced to do it because that's your income. Now, where's the love? You know what I mean? Like over time, I feel like it goes away, and I think that's an important topic to go over, um, especially with self-taught devs. You know, you put so much time and effort into this one thing, and then once you get that opportunity, great. You have this honeymoon phase with it. Like you made
Oh
it.
yeah,
You made it. You're ecstatic. You
yeah,
like, yo, I'm here. Like I did it. I put in that
made
work. It
it.
paid off. Maybe it like 3 months in, you're like, yo, I don't know if I want to do this no more. Like this
Yeah,
is,
dude, man,
you
I
know what I
could
mean?
talk so much about that. Yeah, I mean, dude, like when I first got hired, and it was cool because I was 20 years old. A lot of my like close friends were still in college, and I was at LinkedIn. I got free food. You know, I'm I'm with a bunch of like adults, and I'm doing this whole adult thing, even though I
That's the
still
other
live with my
crazy
parents.
thing is you were only 20.
Yeah. So, and I was making money,
Yeah.
dude. So,
Yeah,
so
dude.
prior to that, I was making like at the time, I think it was my last job before LinkedIn was Radio Shack,
Mm.
and I think I was getting paid 8.75, and that was a
Mm.
lot at the time. That was a lot, dude, because I think most people were getting paid like 7.25 an hour.
People forget how low our minimum wage was back then.
Yeah, man. It's so what? This is 2012, 2013.
Yeah.
So I was making $8, $9. And once they told me like my salary at LinkedIn, I was like, oh my goodness, I'm rich. All right. So what am I gonna do now? What like
Yo,
let me go
when I
buy a
have that
house.
conversation, bro, I'm literally gonna cry. Like, Imma just hug
Yeah,
whoever's telling me, like, "I don't care if it's Corona around here, Imma give you a hug. Come here."
yeah. Exactly, man. So it was cool. So to brush up on the that high, um, I realized like I was on this high and I was working myself to death, and like I already felt super burnt out. I think after like my first year, just because like I feel like with like say if I did go to not community college, but if I went to school, got a computer science, like I spent 4 years to prep up
Yeah.
for a real time job, but I
Mhm.
just went balls in, dude. Like I just started getting a job at 20, and like I was doing all the software engineering stuff. And
Yeah.
keep in mind, dude, like I was only writing like the only stuff that I studied on was like HTML and CSS. And then when I came to LinkedIn as a full-time engineer, I was like trying to learn all these like frameworks. I had to write tests. I had to do all these stuff. I'm like, what, dude? I did not sign up for this. I thought I was just gonna make borders on like these elements, and I thought I would be good after that. I was like, "Come on, man." So I was
Uh,
like, "Oh, man." But luckily, I kinda after that first year hump, I started getting a little bit more confident, and then that's kinda I built up my skills. I got a promotion, and then I think once I got that promotion, that's when I knew, like, "Alright, I deserve to be here." But,
yeah, 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 yeah.
times where I feel like, "Oh, man, I still feel like I'm a fake," but,
Mhm.
I think everyone's gonna feel that way.
Oh, no, for sure. And I mean, like, I get into those moments too where, I run the Instagram and all that stuff. It's like sometimes after I post a photo and I, write the caption and everything, I look at it and I'm like, "Oh, like who who thinks I'm like just not it?" You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it seems this way because it's social media and Instagram is very visual heavy and all that stuff. And I'm like, yo, like, do I know what I'm doing? I
Dude,
don't.
I gotta tell you straight up, you know what you're doing. Like it's your feed is sick, your captions are sick, your photos are sick. Like so from an outsider, I think I know what you're doing, and it's dope. So yeah, I totally understand when you feel like yourself that it's not good enough. But I'm telling you straight up, it's dope.
Dude, thank you. But I mean, sometimes it's just that mental block that, I wish I could overcome and I wish that other people could overcome too, because that's what stops people. Um,
Mhm.
Obviously, I just keep going just because, I've come this far. But I'm not saying I'm doing it just because I got here. You know what I mean? Like I'm doing it because I love to do it.
Mhm.
But there's definitely that like self doubt that comes up. Um, but um, do you have any like suggestions or things that people may be able to like overcome that like burnout when we're in software engineering for 7 years now.
Mhm.
Um, do you feel that there's anything that you could have done or will do to kind of overcome that? Or
Yeah, I mean, there's some stuff that because like I mentioned, I still feel sometimes I still feel burnt out a little bit, and luckily, LinkedIn's a place where you could take unlimited PTO. So whenever I get those things,
cool.
I just take the time off. I try to find a new love, and I make connect with people who kind of push me to be a better engineer.
Mhm.
Like I have a friend who's also into software engineering. Oh well, he's getting into it. He's doing a boot camp. Shout out to my boy Kevin Reber. I'm pretty sure he's listening to this because he's the one that forwarded me your guys' podcast. But like him, he is someone who's like learning to become a software engineer, and he's asking me all these questions, and it kind of like drives me. It's like, dude, this dude really wants to learn, and I'm at a position where like I'm here and he's trying to get to this position, so it gives me motivation that like, hey, I should be giving help and I should be helping people, and maybe that's something that could like fuel my fire.
That's interesting that you say that now, because I've recently seen that a little bit, but like mentorship, I almost feel
Oh
like
yeah.
could get you out of that hump.
Yeah.
Because you're seeing this person learn. You're seeing the light bulb go off. You're seeing,
Mhm.
things switch, and he's starting to understand, or she's starting to understand. And I almost feel like in anything, I used to, I'm not used to, but I mean, like, I don't do this as like a profession or anything, but like sometimes, because I used to love to play basketball and I still do. Um, but like at our gym, we have a hoop and everything, and some people just shot, and I was like, oh, that's like disgusting. I don't know if I, I don't know if I want to watch that anymore. So I helped them,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
just out of my curiosity, I just want to see if I can help them. Seeing
Yeah.
the progression of their form when they shoot is so uplifting and motivating to me that
Mhm.
I just want to like get better too, and I just want to play. And I
Yeah.
feel like that could be the same in software development, where I
Yeah.
think maybe I'm not like suggesting this that big companies do this, but it could be a possibility, where, you get these engineers such as yourself, for example, you're in the job for an X amount of years. Okay, let's start like a mentorship program. We give you a junior. Let's see uh, how you can improve them. And then hopefully, in turn, as a result, it motivates you to start kickstarting up again, because yes, after a couple years you might get burnt out. You're pushing so hard, you're working so hard, you may be working more hours than you thought you were because you're on salary now.
Mhm.
So I think that's like such a key thing, and might be a goal that you work towards, to where you get to that point where you can bring on a mentee essentially and just help out in terms of the burnout. That's an interesting perspective, I think.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think that's the reason why Flo, the person who I met at LinkedIn who taught me how to, do
Oh,
web
there you
development.
go.
So yeah, I think that's the reason why she was so excited. Like, here comes this like young kid from this year up program who wants to learn how to code. Yeah, I'm gonna come here 6 a.m. and teach this kid man, I think
Dude,
it's yeah,
yeah, interesting.
it's a perfect
So
example.
yeah, no, it just loops back, right? Like I feel like maybe I'm not talking for her. I'm not trying to put words in her mouth or say how she
Mhm.
feels, but maybe she was in this lull at LinkedIn where she was like, like, okay, another day at work. Time
Yeah.
to go in and just do this task, like take these tickets out one by one. And then here you come, and it's like, oh, I get to like teach this kid too. I get to watch
Yeah.
him grow. Let's get it. Like,
Exactly.
run it. Let's go. Put it in work. And
Yeah.
it's just an exciting feeling for everybody. And I think that that's just a huge thing, especially for you, where I feel with your friend Kevin, uh, that's motivating in and of itself.
Yep.
Um,
No, for sure, man.
yeah, like
Yeah.
that's so key.
Yeah, and I think like the moment I told her that Vinay, who was the director of web development at the time, when I told Flo that yeah, Vinay actually gave me this full-time position, she was so happy.
Oh yeah, I
Like
bet.
it's one of those things, man.
Dude, that
Excuse me.
I'm getting goosebumps even thinking about that moment, and I
Yeah.
wasn't there, and I'm not, associated in any way, but knowing how that feels as a mentor, like,
Mhm.
seeing the work pay off, you feel satisfied and you feel like you fulfilled something.
Yep.
It wasn't part of your job description. You weren't asked to do this. You
Mhm.
You went out of your way to help somebody.
Yep.
It helped them. Like, that's just good karma right there. That feels amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Um,
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
no. You go ahead. I didn't have a thought.
Oh no, because I'm really into like meditation and like
Yeah.
mindfulness and happiness and things like that.
Mhm.
And with all the craziness that's happening out there, one of my friends asked me, like, how do you become happy, or like what's the like how does someone become happy? And I read this really good book called the Art of Happiness, and it features like the Dalai Lama. And he
Mhm.
said ultimately what brings people happiness is making someone else happy. And like in this book, he asks a series of questions, like say if you won $1 million, right? Yeah,
Mhm.
you would feel good, but then that happiness would only last for like a certain amount of time. And
Honeymoon
now,
phase.
yeah, like it only lasts for a certain amount of time.
Right.
And then he asked, like, what if you received $1 million, but you help out other people? Like, say if you gave someone $100,000, those are the things that will ultimately like you're gonna think of that so much that every time you think back of the time that you helped someone, it just brings you happiness. But when you win $1 million, that happiness is only like in the spur of the moment.
Mm.
It's really hard to explain, but it's like because the book is just so great. It's like it's kind of hard to put in my own words. But I just thought that was like really really intriguing, and yeah, everyone go read The Art of Happiness. It's a really good book.
I'm gonna put that in the show notes for sure, and I'm definitely
Yeah,
gonna have to read that. Because I'm huge into like self-help books too. So
yeah,
that's gonna be a huge one. And especially in our world where I almost feel like, happiness is a huge conflict with developers.
hmm
And looping back to what we were talking about with college degree, people put in the 4 years, then go into software development. But I feel like I don't know the percentage, but there might be a percentage of people who middle of their degree they didn't feel it was for them, but they were so invested into it. They're like, all right, well, gotta stick this through. I already put so
I'm
much money
halfway
and time
there.
into it. You know what I mean? And then they go into a job and it's like, yeah, I hate my life right now. Like this is not for me,
Yeah.
but I got to do this. Um, that's the things like that. Like you need to be proactive about that stuff. Getting a therapist,
Yep.
putting time and effort into what you were saying, and you spend a lot of time on meditation and thinking about happiness and mental health. Um,
Mhm.
like that's so big to us, and then especially with the imposter syndrome, if you let yourself go down like this shitty path in your mental state, dude, it's gonna weigh on you.
Yeah, like, it's not even worth it at that, you know?
For
So,
real.
you always have to train yourself, and, I tell my friend Kevin this all the time, and there are times where, like, I like to vent, and I tell him, like, "Dude, work sucks," and, things like
Mhm.
that, but he wants to be at a point where he does get a job, and so what I try to tell him now is, like, condition yourself where you don't need to, like, having a job is the end goal. Like, regardless, you're gonna get a
So
job.
true.
Yeah,
So
like
true.
you're gonna like maybe right now you're having a hard time finding a job, or you're not an engineer, even though you want to be like really want to be an engineer right now. Try to train your mind where once you become an engineer, which you will become an engineer, that it's not going to be like a top priority. So I mean, it's like
Right.
for me, like when I was during my internship, I told myself like, dude, I want to be like these people here who are like in the matrix. They're coding, they're doing all these really cool things, and I swear, once I become an engineer, I'm set. You know, but then
Mhm.
like look at me 7 years later, I'm like I I love where I'm at, and I'm very grateful of where I'm at, but it's not my end goal.
Right. And I talked about this with Chris in the episode that we did. I have a friend, really good friend that I've known for a couple years now. We go to the gym together. Um, more so before than now, but he's an engineer at Google, and I was asking him for advice, what to learn, what to do, what the roadmap would be for me if I wanted to go this route. And he said, no, you've got this all wrong. Like you're thinking about this all wrong. Your end goal right now uh is to get a job as an engineer, but that's too short. Like that's just a stepping
Mhm.
stone. You need to think about the long term. Like what's your real end goal?
Yup.
And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, look, you getting the interview, you prepping for the interview, you getting a job, that's just a stepping stone to get you to where you really want to be.
Mhm.
Like that's such a small speck in your personal roadmap. Like you need to think about what your real end goal is, because once you get that job and you think that that's your end goal, you're not going to be satisfied. You're not going to be fulfilled.
Nope.
So really write down and think about,
Mhm.
okay, once I get the job, what am I going to do? You know what I mean? Like it doesn't stop there. This like
Oh, yeah.
life is a game, right? Like that's just
Mhm.
you just leveled up. Great. On to
Yeah,
the next one. Um
exactly.
you got to get to the fucking what's it called? Uh final boss.
Yeah, dude, you gotta
You know
beat
what I mean?
Bowser. Come on, man.
Yeah, for real. You didn't get to Bowser yet. You just saved Peach. Great. You still got to get home. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
man. No, I
Like
feel it, dude.
that, and
Uh,
that's what we need to understand is like um getting a software engineering job is great. That's
mhm.
temporary. You could
Yeah,
lose that job. You can, the market right now is crazy,
oh, yeah.
like mass layoffs. You could be part of that. This could happen again. Do not put all your chips on the end goal being just being a software engineer. There's got to be more to that. There's got to be more
Mhm.
to that. So, for those of you listening right now, do not put all your chips in that. Like literally take some time, take an hour. It doesn't even have to be an hour. It could be multiple days of you sitting down thinking about where you really want to be at the end. At the very end, what do you want to have done to achieve that? What are the stepping stones? Because getting a software engineering job is just a small stepping stone in that.
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
I have so
yeah.
many people who are in the Europe program who, reach out to me, and not even just at the Europe program, just random people who they ask me like, "Oh, how do I become an engineer?" And I would ask them, I would reply back and say like, "Oh, have you ever built anything?" He's like, "Yeah, I built this web page. I built this, this app." I'm like, "Well, you're a software engineer. So what you're trying to say is you just want to be an engineer and have a job." And
Mm,
it's just those kind of like switcher mentality. Like you are a software engineer. Like don't say like
yes.
I want to be a software engineer, because if you're building stuff and you're creating stuff, then yeah, you are a software engineer. You just want to find a job in the software engineering space.
Yeah. Dude, that's so true though, because like I,
Yeah.
I found myself in the same space when I like probably earlier this year was, I was already building things, but
Mhm.
in my it's kind of stupid, but in my Instagram bio, I didn't call myself a developer because I didn't feel like I was one yet. And then I had this mental switch where I was like, yo, I'm building things. Like I understand these things. I can write code. I understand when I read other people's code.
Mhm.
I can deploy websites and all these things. I am a developer. Like I literally have developed things, so might as well just change my bio. Like it's such a small thing, but it's
Yeah.
that mental switch where you're like, okay, I am a developer. Okay, try next move. Next move. Like
Yeah.
people know I'm a developer. Now let's get this thing moving, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's very key too. Is all of this is really just a mental switch. Um,
Yeah. Dude,
like,
I totally like even before, chatting with you when my friend Kevin sent me the podcast and I was looking you up, I was like, "Oh, this dude's a software engineer." Like I looked at your GitHub, I'm like, "Dude, he built some like cool stuff. He built it with React and he built this NBA player stat." And then I just realized when we chatted through Instagram that you're looking for like a software engineering job. I'm like, "Dude, you're like already there." You know what I
mm,
mean? Like your
yeah,
skill sets are already there.
dude. Like I 100% appreciate that because I've never. I wouldn't say never. I've always talked to people who are developers and things like that and who have these, hiring manager positions and things like that, but I've never had someone really go through my GitHub and, review the work and tell me that, these things are great. So it's feedback like that like is super inspiring for me. So like honestly, thank you. Um
Yeah, no, for sure, man. And
it's yeah.
curious, like, did you just think of that project by yourself, or were you taking a class and then it was kind of like a follow these steps, or like I was curious, like, how did you come up with that idea, and like how did you learn how to code?
So that okay, let's let's go through this. I got to sit up for
Yeah.
this one. I was taking a course on Udemy, and we were building. I think the course it was the complete React course from Steven Grider. I don't want to say his last name, but we built this app called Streamy, I think, and that was the first time I had used Redux for state management, and I wanted to like solidify the concepts behind Redux because Redux was like this big old monster that I had no idea what the hell was going on. So I think one day this was still when I was working in IT. I think I was just like I was watching an NBA game like off on the side while I was doing work, and I was just like, oh, maybe I could do that, like maybe I could build something that related to the NBA because I'm a huge NBA fan. Okay, how do I do that? What do I do what do I do to implement Redux? And then the next like idea that popped in my head was like, oh, okay, I think I could find an API because I wanted to practice using like fetching third-party APIs and stuff. So I was like, okay, there may be an API where I can grab stats from players and teams, and then maybe use Redux in that way to manage the web pages dynamically loading with all the data and stuff. And I just kind of started going through it. I think December of 2019, I started like drafting what it would look like, how it would flow, and then built it. And then that's kind of how that started. And it turned into that. And honestly, that project was so much fun because I was stuck for a long time with Redux. And there was like a couple people that are actually reaching out to me to help me. And I was like, oh, like
yeah,
collaboration with other developers. Like, this is good. I get to get insight from other people and see how they would attack this certain issue or things like that. So that was kind of cool. And then you asked how I got into coding.
yeah.
Like, okay, so I have always been into coding. Like, we'll backtrack all the way when I was in like middle school. I think
Nice.
me and another friend, his dad wanted him to learn PHP, and he was like, "Yo, learn PHP with me." I was like, "Okay, fine. I don't even know what that means, but let's do it." um, and he had this book, and I was like, "Okay, you keep the book. I'm not gonna keep coming to your house to learn this. I'll look this up online." So I started doing tutorials from, I think it was, I don't know if, is it Derek Banyas or something like that on YouTube? He might have had a PHP tutorial back then, and I was just like watching it and learning how to make a website with PHP or something like that. And so my interest started there. Then I was always on and off every year. And then earlier 2019, I was like, okay, I gotta do something about this. Like, coding is really fun, and the fact that you can make something out of just words essentially
words,
is
numbers,
pretty cool
stuff,
to me. I was like, okay, we got to get into this. So did free code camp for a couple months, just learning HTML and CSS. Stopped that, went off again for maybe 2 months. And then I would say August/September timeframe of 2019, I went full in. So went into Code Academy, YouTube tutorials, Udemy courses, and then here I am, just nonstop every day learning HTML, CSS, JavaScript. My roadmap was a little stupid, like I said in the past podcast. I learned HTML all the way through, and CSS I went half-ass. I didn't learn everything that I needed to because I was like, I don't like CSS.
You can't learn everything. Like, I still Google stuff like
Oh,
all
no,
the
no, for
time.
sure. I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing that doesn't like really discourage me either, is that I know I can just look things up. So I wasn't really discouraged by that. So, I skipped a lot of CSS and I went straight to JavaScript because I was like, I want to learn JavaScript.
Yeah,
And
and
then
I think that's what tasks most. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. But then my dumbass was like, okay, I don't know if I want to learn JavaScript. Oh, I kind of want to learn React. Because for some reason I was in a mental block. I was like, I don't know if I really understand what's going on in JavaScript right now. And then for some reason I was like, okay, let me jump into React right now and see if I can't just pull away some of the things that I really do need to know in JavaScript and just backtrack essentially. So if there's something I get stuck on in React, I'll look it up to see what it is in JavaScript to see if I can understand the concept more. So I went through that React course that I was talking about, um, and I got a better understanding of JavaScript, oddly, through that. Just because, fortunately enough, the Steven was who the professor was. He explained it fairly well and in detail. When there was something that we were doing, like such as destructuring, which we talked about before on Instagram. Um,
Mhm.
He went over destructuring. I was like, oh shit, what is this? And then he said it. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, that's easy. I can do this.
Mhm.
And then, so I learned React all the way through. That was pretty easy. And then I think recently, a couple months ago, I went back to just vanilla JavaScript through Codecademy, understood that. So here we are. We know pretty
Nice.
much all the front end stuff. And right now I'm just building out websites, my portfolio. I did a client project. So that's kind of my journey
Oh,
through
nice.
coding. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Nice, nice. And I'm curious, like, since you have such a big following on Instagram, do you ever have people reach out to you regarding like, hey, we wanna like interview you or we have a project and we'll pay you to do it? Do you have any of those kind of clients?
Not through
Oh
Instagram.
yeah.
I don't know if I come across that, if it's just because of the way I portray myself on Instagram or not. Like, not that I'm doing it in a negative way,
Hmm.
but I've never I've never gotten an opportunity like that through Instagram. I'm very open to it though, so if any of you want to,
Yeah. Shoot, if anyone's listening, yeah, dude, hire this
um,
dude. Knows what he's
let's get it.
doing.
But no, nothing like that. I know people who've gotten clients through Instagram and things like that, but no one who's ever really reached out on my DMs or my emails saying, "Hey, we have this thing. Let's do something." Um,
Gotcha.
I maybe have, but they were kind of sketchy ones. So
Yeah.
I never really engaged on those ones. So if I get a non-sketchy opportunity, I will definitely take it.
Hey, man. Yeah. Well, I mean, like I mentioned, dude, like once the LinkedIn freeze gets lifted, I'm referring you.
Dude, let's get it. I'm excited, dude. Thank you. Like,
Yeah,
whew, all I need is that foot in the door, bro. Like, I want people to understand, and it's just not for me. Like, this should be for everybody else. Should be. You should have this mindset, especially as a self-taught dev. Well, get that first opportunity. Like for me, for example, like with this whole LinkedIn stuff. Like,
mhm,
if I do end up getting an interview with it, you best believe everything else to me doesn't matter except for that opportunity right there. Like, I'm putting my heart and soul, like 1000% of my efforts are going into that so I can secure that. Like,
exactly.
I will bleed for that to happen. Like, I don't care what I got to do. Like, I, tell me, like what do I need to do? Like, it doesn't even have to be coding related. You need me to kill somebody? No, I'm just kidding.
No, no. I mean, dude, to be honest, like, dude, just be yourself. Like, there's so many people who, who I've interviewed personally and who are just like they just really just like talk out their asses. Like, oh, they know these things. Or like, yeah, I've done it this way and it's better this way. Oh, I'm like, dude, I'm asking you a simple question. Just like, go ahead and try your best to solve it. And it
Mhm.
really isn't about getting the answer right. It's really about, can I see myself working with this person? If the
Mm,
skills aren't there, is this a person that I could help mold into an engineer that I would want to be, a team member with? It's really that. Like, dude, there's
dude.
so many times, not even myself, but like colleagues who turn down a candidate because they just rub them the wrong way. You know,
Yeah,
like even though they're like they're technical experts, right? They know everything about JavaScript. But if it's someone that I can't work with, then it doesn't matter.
dude, that's like so reassuring and key because again, we're looping back to the whole um is the chemistry right with this employee or
Yep. Candidate.
candidate. Um but the other thing is too is that I feel like for us, especially me, I get super nervous with um interviews in
Mhm.
general. Obviously, yes, at the end of the day, like you said, it's just be you. I'm not going to be fake. Like, I'm going to talk. I'm not going to tell you lies. I'm not going to say what I'm not. I'm just going to be me. And if you don't like that, that's okay. But with the technical interviews, it's it's super reassuring to hear that, it's not the fact that obviously you want to try your best. Um, you know, not getting the right answer, knowing that you not getting the right answer is okay. Um, like I feel like if you have that in the back of your mind, but still try to get the answer right,
Mhm.
just makes you a little bit more calm in the moment, because obviously it's super nerve wracking, right?
Yeah.
This is your opportunity to whether or not you get the offer or not. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's a hard balance for sure, but I feel like we need to make sure that we stay calm, that we stay true, like you said,
Yeah.
and just put in the time and put in the effort, and
Mhm.
it pays off. But yeah, that's super key, because you know the interviewing process, especially for a lot of other developers, that's one of the key things, because you can't, there's mock interviews, there's hacker rank
Yeah.
where you can practice those questions,
Yep.
but you never really get to simulate the actual feeling of, hey, there's, Rich is interviewing me. He's
Mhm.
hovering over me. He's watching me. This is kind of like scary right now.
Yeah. No, and to be honest, like, and this is the moment where I feel like the reason why I worked at LinkedIn is because I said, I don't know how to do this, but I will learn how to do this. And that's when I emailed back that the person interviewing me with the correct
Mhm.
answer. Like, just be upfront and just be like, I don't know how to do this, and just be completely honest. And that's the reason why I mean, I know that's the reason why I'm at LinkedIn right now, is because I said that. Because I
Dude,
said
for
I don't know
sure.
how to do this.
Yeah, and I think that's so key, because that's another key thing too, because it's, if you don't know something, don't try to like prolong it and fake it until you
Yeah,
like figure it
dude,
out,
I
you know what I
did that
mean?
so many times.
Dude,
Yeah.
it's so like in IT
Mhm.
especially, cuz it pisses me off when I see this too, because it's so cringy. I'm like, sometimes when I was watching like at Central, for example, we had, obviously there's new people that come through and they don't know the processes or things like that, but if I clearly see that you don't know the answer,
Mhm.
don't try to fake that you know the answer until you figure it out. Like,
Yep.
one, it's very easy to read, brother. Like, I know that you don't know the answer to this question. Just tell me you don't know, and I will either help you or we can both work to figure this out. You know what I mean? And as a developer, I feel like it's even easier to read that you don't know the answer. So
Mhm.
if you get or run into a situation to where, okay, I literally don't know what this means or don't know how to do this, just say that. And I
Yep.
feel, again, it's to what you said, it's what's helped you. You're eager to learn it. I don't know this. Can you teach me? Give me time. I will learn it. Like, give
Yep.
me give me a week. Give me 5 days. Give me 2 days. Give me an hour. I'll figure it out. Like, no
Yeah.
problem. You know what I mean?
I don't I don't think anybody at LinkedIn, or I think any software engineering company at LinkedIn, at in the Silicon Valley, has ever fired someone for not knowing or asking a question. Like, I asked so many questions to the engineers, and like, I'm still there. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like the BEM CSS, I still get confused on how to write BEM CSS. Like, those are the things that I ask all the time. And you know what? Hey, I'm still here. Been here for 7 years. So
Dude, it's the eagerness, it's asking questions, but it's also being okay and open to failure. Like, not necessarily that, you not knowing BEM or asking questions is failure, but in general, you're gonna fail along the way, but that's how you grow, right? Like, with software development, you're not gonna know everything. We've talked about this. You're not gonna know every single freaking property or anything like that in CSS or things, Like, you're just not. Like, you gotta be okay with that, and you gotta be okay with being in a situation where I don't know it. Like, I feel like a failure, kind of, right? But let me ask and figure this out. And then once you get through that, you know, quote unquote obstacle, you're not going to forget it, and you're going to be seasoned and experienced in that. And then when the time comes and when that situation comes right back around, you'll know it. You know what I mean? And you just grow that every single time with everything that you don't know. So, and
Mhm.
I've talked about this to plenty of other people. I did it in the AMA. Like, you got to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Um,
Yep.
like, being okay with not knowing is so key for us, for sure.
Yeah.
And like it's just you're a prime example of that.
Yeah, man. No, I appreciate it, dude.
Like, dude, it's crazy to like the mental fortitude that you have and the just curiosity as a person and then as a developer is like so like motivating for sure. Like for me too, because I'm a curious person, like it's seeing people who really, really, really want to learn
Hmm.
is what motivates me. Like seeing like for me, like when I see people who really want to learn to play basketball, it's like, yes, like watching that person just grow, 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 grow. It's like, this is great. I love
Yeah,
that.
man. Dude, that's what life's all about is just growing. Like
Dude, for sure.
yeah, dude, if you're getting relaxed, man, like that's the first sign where it's gonna go downhill, man. You just have to keep on growing, keep on learning. That's what life is all about.
Dude, and again, that just goes right back around to being comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Mhm.
People people get too comfy when they get that job. It's like, yo, okay, I got a salary, I got money coming in, I got my job, we good. I don't gotta move nowhere. You know what I mean? I'm like, no, you have a job, great. Use that money to fund something else. Go start
Yeah,
something else on the
invest.
side and like grow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and okay, let's get into that now. Good old
Yeah,
segue.
dude, let's do it, man.
Because I know you, and something crazy about you is you owned an investment property at the age of 23, and I'm 23. So to me, that's
Nice.
just like, yo, what strings do I got to pull to do that? Because that's insane.
Yes.
But like, so I'm heavily into investing stocks and finance, and financial stability. So I'm curious to know what your take is on that, and then how
Mhm.
important that is for everybody, including developers, because our salaries are pretty high in the
Yep,
Silicon Valley, at least. You know what I mean? So,
for
what's
sure.
your take?
Yeah, I love to talk about this because I feel like when you talk about passion, right? This is my passion. Finance,
Mm,
investing is my passion.
mm,
I'm very grateful that I'm an engineer. It kind of helps me funnel my passion, and
exactly.
without it, without software engineering, I wouldn't be able to do the kind of investments that I do. I just want to double check we're good on time, right? I don't have to do
Dude,
anything,
we're
but I
just
just
gonna
want to
keep.
make sure that you're good on
I'm
time.
good, bro. I didn't even
Okay.
realize we were in an hour. Like, let's just keep going.
Yeah, dude, same here, man. That was super fast. But yeah, let me get into this. So, I'm just gonna back up just a little bit. So,
Sure.
growing up, I've always been into investing. My dad always played stocks. When I used to sleep in my parents' room, Bloomberg was always on. So, throughout my whole process of life, I always kind of knew about stock and investing. So even though I wasn't, the smartest person in school and I was like a C average person, I knew how to save and I knew how to, do my finance stuff.
Mm,
So right when I turned 18, I was a senior year of high school, I opened up a stock account and this thing called DCA, which is dollar cost averaging, which you put in money into a certain stock or put money in an investment portfolio at a monthly or weekly cadence. So I've been investing into stocks since I was 18.
dude,
Um,
so
I
ahead of the game,
yeah, man, that's dude. When I say passion, like this is my passion. So
dude.
before I even go into it, I just want to let you know what my goal is. My goal is to be a stay-at-home father. Whenever that time comes,
Mm,
when I become a parent, I just want to make sure that I'm at home and I just want to
mm,
be there 24/7. Um, so I always had that mentality. Growing up, I was reading a lot of books. I read, Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Warren Buffett books. So 18, opened up my stock account, um, did the whole DCA stuff.
mhm.
Luckily, I got a job at LinkedIn. Getting paid, six figures right off the bat when I was 20 years old. Yeah, it's crazy.
Dude.
That's why I was so excited when I got that job because I was literally making like $7, $8. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So,
dude. Talk about
um,
a freaking salary increase. Good lord.
yeah, yeah. But I do okay. Quick side note: it wasn't like my base salary wasn't six figures. That's including like stocks and things like that.
Oh, for
Which
sure, but still,
figures.
you're
Yeah,
making a good amount of money at the age.
Oh yeah. So I think and since it's so long ago, when I got hired, I got an email. It was a DocuSign saying that your salary is going to be 85K. I was like, "What? Oh my goodness, this is crazy." But now it's like it's weird to say and it's like so jaded, but it's like it's so weird to say like if you were to get paid 85K now, it's like, "Yo, you're getting gypped." And keep in mind this was
Well,
2013.
it also is in the Silicon Valley, like
Yeah.
80K, especially, I mean, at 20, you're probably still living with your parents. I think you're still living with your parents too now, right?
Yeah, I'm still living with my parents. Yeah, and I
Bro,
could talk about that too.
smartest move
Yup,
ever. But
yup, and
backtrack,
yeah,
is, 80K in the Silicon Valley, it's all location, right? So if you're making 80K in the Silicon Valley and you're planning on starting a family, yeah, you can't do that with 80.
yeah, yeah, and to be honest, like, I don't wanna sound like, "Oh, yeah, 85K is not a lot." I mean, it is a lot, but to be honest, if you're living in the Silicon Valley, if you're living in the Bay Area, it's really not. But,
It's
I
really
was
not.
still grateful that, I was getting paid 85K.
Mhm.
So 20 years old, getting paid 85K, had some stocks. I told myself, you know what? I'm gonna save as much money as I can, and I'm gonna continue living with my parents. At the time, I was still single, so saving money was a lot easier. So what I did was, when I became 23, I had a good amount of savings, and I put that all into my house, which I purchased in Vegas. So I
So
still have that
smart.
property. I also have tenants there, so people are renting out. They're paying for the mortgage and plus a little bit more. So I always had this cash flow coming in.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, like I mentioned, I still live with my parents, even though I'm a married man. Like I took upon myself, like, you know what? Our goal, my wife and I's goal, is to, purchase a house. We don't want to rent. We don't want to, give money to a landlord. What we're gonna do is we're gonna save money and build this really nice nest egg to purchase a house. And we're currently doing that right now. And with the
Mhm.
whole like COVID situation going on, I'm hoping that the housing market kind of dips a little bit. So we're kind
Don't
of waiting
hope.
for that.
Don't hope.
Yeah,
It will.
you think so? Yeah, dude, I
I
think
think
so
so.
too.
I
Yeah,
think it,
so
like, with everything going on in the market right now, I think the housing market is just gonna ricochet and side effect onto it.
yeah, it's just the last one to go. So
Mhm.
hopefully, let's do it by the end of the year. But
Mhm.
like, and my wife's a nurse, so we have two people who are making good amount of money,
I was gonna
and
say.
we were never in an argument of moving out of my parents' house. Like my parents are so loving, and they let us stay here, pretty much rent free.
Mhm.
So um like what I want to do and one of my goals is teach the younger millennials. What's the one who are like the younger millennials? Is that Gen Z?
I think so.
Yeah, so I want to teach the Gen Z's like no matter regardless of how much money you make, it's not about that. It's how much money you could save and invest.
Yeah.
Like I have coworkers who, make good amount of money, but like 70% goes to rent or goes into, buying toys and all these other things. So, yeah, so in regards to like investment, like that's my passion. And yeah, I purchased a house when I was 23, still have that. I still do DCA stock investment, and I haven't really sold any stocks.
Good.
So I'm just kind of just playing along, and yeah, my ultimate goal is to be a stay at home father.
That, and I mean, that loops back to the end goal. That's your goal, right? Your software
That's my
development
goal.
was just a stepping stone towards that goal,
Stepping stone. Exactly.
right?
Exactly. Like
Which
I could. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, software development is probably one of the biggest careers you could have to get even closer to that, like, faster.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
uh,
I'm just super grateful, and yeah,
yeah,
I'm just super happy. And I listened to Chris. His kind of goal is, buying his parents a house, and that's, you know,
Joe.
see, that's what it's all about, man. Like
Did you hear the
something
things
like
that
this.
he does? Like, this man's
Like
crazy. Like, he's like looking on what's
Zillow.
the Zillow. He looks on
Yeah.
Zillow like every day or some shit like that. I'm like, yo, brother, that's unhealthy.
Oh
but
yeah, man.
but you can tell he's like that's like something he really wants to do. And
Yeah,
we all have these different triggers, right? And that for him, looking at these houses he wants to put his parents in, yo, that's a whole nother level. And I applaud him for that. I'm like, yo, that's
yeah,
so motivating to the fact that you want to get to a position where financially you can retire your parents
mhm,
and or put them in a house that's like a dream to them,
yep,
like getting to, again, it's all the stepping stones. And Chris, you have put yourselves into those positions to where it's possible.
yeah,
And back to your point is financial literacy is so important in that aspect because as a software dev it's easy to get carried away resting on your laurels. You're making this money, like you feel like you made it but you really haven't yet. Depending on the age, like, yeah, you're getting this money, but what are you doing to set yourself up for the future?
yep,
You got all
yep,
these people buying Teslas, buying like nothing against buying Teslas, like great,
yeah,
do it. Like it's a good investment too. But
yeah,
you for example, you bought a house. It's a huge asset. It's bringing in money.
yep,
After the initial close and putting tenants in it and all that stuff, like it's bringing you passive income. Um,
yep,
like you have an asset that you can hold on to. You're building a nest egg to potentially and eventually buy your own house. By the way, are you planning on staying on the Silicon Valley or are you moving out?
My wife and I were still talking about that. Our
Mm,
whole family's here in the
yeah.
Bay Area, so it would be so hard to move anywhere else. I do have family in Vegas, and that's where our investment property is
Hmm.
located in Vegas. But dude, I was born and raised here in Daly City, and I just don't really see myself out of here.
Leaving. I feel
Yeah,
the same way.
it would be so hard, you
I
know.
know. I
You
know.
were born and raised in San Jose?
Yes, born and raised. Still
Yeah,
live in the same house
nice.
when I was born. So
Same
this
here.
is, yeah, for it's that's what I think holds me so close to the city and just the Bay Area in general, even if it is, super, super overpriced. Um, like it just the relationship and the bond, quote unquote,
Yeah.
that you have with the city, just because, born and raised, right? Like it keeps you there.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
and I think the nice thing about the pricing here in the Silicon Valley is it's just because it's so high, it really pushes you to make that price.
Yep. Yep.
Um,
Makes
which
you wanna
is,
work harder.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Which is really, really nice. And oh, what was I gonna say? Uh, do you? I I always thought about this because as a software dev, we can build these things, right? Um,
Mhm.
do you have you ever thought about using software development to feed into your passion as finance and like build something in that realm?
Yeah, so actually recently, my friend Kevin, since he's doing all these software engineering classes, he actually does a lot of backend stuff.
Hmm.
So I built a tool, and it's just all local stuff. It's not actually out there. So I built a tool where it holds all my investments. So like I invest in gold, I invest in like cryptocurrency, I invest in properties, I also invest in stocks. But to see those investments, I actually have to individually go to these separate accounts to do that. I
Mm-hmm.
built something locally for myself to just have one full page, and it shows everything there. I mean, you do have
Ooh.
websites like Personal Capital and
Yeah,
other
I use
things, but
personal
then
capital.
it's like you give access to them. So I try to like it's all local stuff for me. So
Is that a
um,
website or is
I
that a mobile app?
it's actually it's a website. So
Ah, gotcha.
the only thing that sucks is it's a mobile app, um, mobile web app.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Gotcha. But
yeah.
again,
And
that's super
I
interesting.
yeah, yeah. And to be honest, like I mentioned before, like I love engineering, and I'm happy to be here. But when I'm not working, I try my
I
best
yeah,
to stay
complete
away from it.
completely
Yeah,
understand. So you try to separate that.
yeah,
Now, so let's
yeah.
dig into that. So aside from finances and all that stuff, obviously that's super important, and I think that that's a conversation that we definitely should have when it comes to developers because of the amount of money we make. But are there other hobbies that you have aside from finances outside of your full time job?
Yeah, no, health is also a big thing. One of
Mm,
my what I like to do is, so I wrestled in high school and a little bit in the community college.
mhm.
So I translated that into jujitsu, since
Nice.
after high school and college you can't really wrestle anywhere else unless you do like
Mhm.
club wrestling.
Right.
But so I started doing jujitsu. Another big passion of mine is I love watching MMA, UFC,
Mhm.
grappling matches, martial arts. Like I'm a super big fan of Joe Rogan.
Yo, I
That's
love Joe
the reason
Rogan.
why I have my podcast. So
Yeah,
yeah, so I love watching those things, and I love doing those things as well.
for sure.
So those are kind of like the big things: is finance, martial arts, and just kicking it with my wife, living a really simple life. I'm also like heavily into like minimalism, so I have
I
a
know.
YouTube channel
Yeah.
that kind of tailors to minimalism. Since I'm so heavy into like mindfulness and meditation,
Mhm.
minimalism is just like a lifestyle that I enjoy
Mhm.
doing. It actually translates into to coding too. Like, so I try to keep everything dry.
Yep.
um, don't repeat yourself kind of mentality. If I
Mhm.
could write less code, I that's what I do.
Right.
So yeah.
I and I think those things are so key because with jujitsu, it's I've always actually wanted to get into jujitsu, um, eventually, but I'm
You're
just
built like a jujitsu person. So like when I saw your Instagram page, I'm like, dude, this dude either like he does Muay Thai or jujitsu. But then it looks like you play basketball, which is
yeah.
still good.
Yeah. I played basketball and then now I just do CrossFit all the time.
Nice.
But the interesting part about that is right next door to our gym is a Brazilian jiu-jitsu gym.
Oh,
Um,
what gym?
damn it, I don't remember their name.
Oh no, dude, there's so many in San
I
Jose.
know there's so many. I think it starts with a G, like glow something. I think I
Okay.
don't remember. Um, but we used to share. We actually used to share the building with them before we moved out into our own.
Oh, nice.
And I would always see people roll and spar and all these different things, and it always looked super interesting. But the other thing that was super interesting to me was that it's super strategy based and it's
Yeah.
almost like a puzzle.
Yeah,
Um,
like almost like a chess match.
exactly. It's like your opponent makes one move, what's your next to counter, things like that.
Yep.
Which
Exactly.
always interested me, and I've always really, really wanted to get into it because I love that kind of stuff. And physically, I know I could probably handle it, but just never really like put the time in. But what my point was is that your hobbies in jujitsu, your hobbies in minimalism and happiness and things like that, I feel like ground you so well to the point where it positively affects you in your full time work.
Mhm.
Um, so, and that's the other thing is, people like myself, I didn't have side hobbies aside from the gym, for a little bit, other than coding, you know what I mean? And coding consumed so much of my life that I needed to have these
Outlet.
outside factors.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. An outlet to just ground myself, make sure that mentally I was okay. And I could have these things to get my mind off things if I was getting too frustrated with coding. Cause I mean, if you run into a bug that you can't figure out for like a whole day, that kills you. You know what I mean? So I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, time to go to the gym, time to do whatever else, time to make a video, time to blah, 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 take a photo, whatever, you know what I mean? Whatever the hobbies are, yours are super grounding, especially jujitsu. Like
Yeah.
it's just like the mental aspect of jujitsu is always what um captivated me really. How long have you been doing
Yeah.
it?
I was on and off for maybe about 4 to 5 years.
Mm,
Um, it's hard for me because I'm a type of person where I could get bored really easily. So if
yeah.
I'm, after work, if I'm, training jujitsu every single day, I get bored really easily.
Mhm.
So I like to bounce around to different gyms, and I kind of just like take a rest, maybe take a month off to a couple weeks off,
I
and
feel you.
then yeah, and then get back into it. Like I've done a lot of things. I've done like Muay Thai, jujitsu. I got really into rock climbing. I always need to like do something like different. I'm very
Yeah.
curious,
Yeah, yeah,
where
yeah.
I wanna
I
try
could
different
tell
things.
you
Like
were a
right now,
very
I'm into
curious
fishing.
person.
Yeah, like
You're into what?
so I'm into fishing now.
Oh, I was like, "Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Let's get
yeah.
into
So it's
that real
actually
quick." Like, dude, we're
yeah.
jumping around to all different kind of categories right now.
Yeah, I know. But dude, that's why dude, it's all about, communication and, it's all about you making these interpersonal, um, connection, right? So,
Mm,
like, I'm learning a lot about you, and you're learning a lot about me, and all
mhm.
it ties into life. Because if you're doing the same thing over and over, if you're talking to the same person over and over, like, it gets stale a little bit. So, I
Yeah.
translate that into, like, all these different hobbies that I have. So, yeah, now I'm currently into fishing. I got into fishing because I saw this YouTuber who, like, cooks what he eats, and I was like, "Oh, dude, I'm gonna try
Oh,
this."
that's
So
interesting.
yeah, so I've been trying that. I only caught 1 fish this whole time, so hopefully I could get a good run soon.
Yeah, all so many people. I feel like is this a tech thing? Like, I feel like a lot of them fish. I've been invited to
No,
go
I only know
fishing.
1 person that fish. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
There's so many people in my old work that used to fish, and they were like, "Yo, you want to go? Like, we're about to go like fishing or clamming or whatever." I'm like, "Nah, I'm good. The outside world, I don't know if I really like it. I think I'm gonna stay inside right now and just code. I'm good. You guys go." Um,
Man.
but that's
You
super interesting. Go ahead.
yeah, no, I was gonna say, it's weird? Like, I became more of an outside person, outdoor person after I got burnt out. So, yeah,
Mm.
story, and we're gonna be jumping again. So,
Mhm.
prior to me working at LinkedIn, I've never traveled outside the country.
Really?
Other than Mexico, because I went to, like, a cruise ship,
Uh-huh.
when I was, really, really young. We went to, the cruise ship took us to Mexico. But prior to me getting burnt out at LinkedIn, I did not travel. And then, after a year, I went on a solo backpacking trip in Europe by myself for 14 days, and I touched
Damn.
down 6 different countries. And then I just got the travel bug after that. After Europe, I went to Asia. After Asia, I went to, uh, shoot, this sounds really bad because I don't know what continent it is. So I'm just gonna say the country. I went to, like, New Zealand. I've been to
Yeah.
all these other countries, and, I just became in love with, like, traveling and becoming more outdoorsy. Um,
Yo, that's nuts.
I
I
got into,
love
like,
that.
camping and things like
Mhm.
that. So even now, one of the reasons why I'm into fishing is not only because I saw that YouTuber, but, um, I wanna get out of kind of the digital world.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's really, really weird. Like, when I'm out fishing, it's just, like, me, the ocean, my fishing pole, and I'm trying to catch a fish to eat. This is, like, what my
Mhm.
ancestors, did. So it
Dude,
kinda
for
takes
real.
takes me back to that, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
but
crazy.
yeah, no, 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 for real, and I feel that, and I think that's super important too. Is that we get as developers, our life is digital.
Mhm.
It revolves around digital. It revolves around, um, you know, sitting down and putting in work on the computer. So I can understand and see why someone like yourself or anybody really who's heavily invested into development is itching to get out, not necessarily out of their job but out of the digital realm and just be out for once. So I can see that. I have the travel bug too. Unfortunately we couldn't travel. I was supposed to go to
Yeah, I know.
Japan in March,
Oh, man.
or
Ah,
end of
dang.
March. Yeah, end of March, beginning of April. I was supposed to head to Japan and I've never been,
Oh,
but
man. I'm sorry to
COVID
hear that.
happened, so couldn't go there.
Yeah.
But I traveled with my friends to Thailand the year
Oh,
prior
nice.
in 2018, and ever since then I was like, yo, we gotta hit places. Like, this is
Yeah,
fun. I love that.
yeah.
And I think back to your point, being so stuck in the digital realm, helping people with computers and things like that. I'm like, I gotta get away, man. Like, I
Yeah.
I gotta go like a couple weeks where I don't see a computer right now because otherwise I'll lose my shit. Um,
No, dude, for sure.
yeah, so it's so key, and I think that just loops back right into mental health. Is that you gotta find ways to stay happy. You have to find ways to stimulate yourself in positive ways, and sometimes when you hit burnout, which you eventually will, um,
Mhm.
we hope not, but unfortunately, it's just a natural feeling and natural, event that occurs in our lives. You need to find those things. For Rich, it's jujitsu, fishing right now, traveling. For me, it's gym all the time. Physical activity is something that I treasure a lot, and if that gets taken away from me, I don't know what I would do with myself. Like,
Yeah, man, that'd be so tough.
dude, like, uh, I couldn't. I can't even fathom like not picking up a barbell. Like, to
Yeah.
me, that's pretty crazy. I don't know if I would continue life. I'd be like, nah, I'm done. Just
How are you working out right now? Is your gym open or you just do all home workouts?
So the interesting and fun part about that is I'm a coach at our gym.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
yeah, so I help coach out there, and once COVID happened, I had a key, so
Ooh,
um, whenever time I had time, I would hike over there, open the gym up, and just put a workout in.
nice.
Towards the middle, maybe early parts of the shelter in place order, we rented out a lot of our gear to our members so that they could still work out at home, because we were doing the
Oh,
whole Zoom
nice.
workout stuff and all that. So people had equipment to work out with. If they didn't, we had versions that didn't require equipment. So that was cool. So I still had things to work out in that weren't taken. So I had boxes for box jumps. We still had the rig there for pull ups. I had my own barbell, so I brought it to the gym and used whatever weights we had. We had some dumbbells. So it was a lot of body weight stuff. But yeah, I through quarantine and still am, where I just use my key to get into the gym and work out whenever I can.
Dang, that's dope. Do you follow any diets?
Uh, I wouldn't say so. Okay, that's the interesting part. So in earlier 2019, I really wanted to dial in on my diet.
Mhm.
And so first I tried keto.
Yeah.
I was super interested in it, and I was like, okay, I'll just give it a shot for a month. So did that, and I saw crazy effects. Like, I lost so much weight, and I got so cut. So I
Oh,
was like,
okay.
okay. It's not sustainable for longer than
Yeah.
maybe a month or two. Because
Okay.
that tip diet was typically made for like diabetic children or something like that.
Yeah.
Or no, children or people who are prone to epilepsy, I believe. Um,
Okay.
so I was like, okay, I can't sustain this, but a month I cut off a lot. So let me try paleo. And I was like, okay. I think the thing for me is the cool thing about switching these diets was what it allowed me to figure out what foods I can and cannot have and what I react heavily to. And that was a lot of carbs
Okay.
in general. So right now I just follow a very, very low carb diet.
Okay.
And but that's not to say I cut them out completely. I still use them, but I time it. So
Mhm.
right now, the only real things I have is like chicken and rice cauliflower or some sort of
Nice.
vegetable. Um, and then after workouts, like the meal following workouts, I never have them before because otherwise I just like I'll literally puke. Um,
Mhm.
I'll have something with carbs. So right now it's just cereal. I
Oh,
make a
wow.
protein shake and then I pour it over cereal and then I just have that
Dang.
as my carb source, and then that'll be it for the day as in terms of carbs typically. And then for dinner, I'll have again, I'm the nice thing also is that I'm not a picky eater and
Mhm.
I can eat the same thing forever.
Over and over. Yeah.
So yeah, I can have chicken and rice cauliflower all the time, and I'm okay with that. So that's kind of the diet I've been following.
Nice. Man, this podcast turned into a, coding, financial, fishing,
Yeah,
now workout podcast.
dude, we've covered a lot of topics in this podcast.
Yeah, dude, it was dope. But dude, I've been fasting for like almost 18 hours now. So I think we could go ahead and cut it. But dude, I
Yeah,
appreciate, you speaking with me and me being on your podcast, man. It was super fun.
dude. Yeah, I'm happy to bring you on, dude. As soon as we connected and bonded in the we same background, I was like, dude, I gotta have this guy on. Like, we gotta talk.
Sure, man. Yeah.
But yeah,
I mean,
dude,
yeah,
go ahead.
same. No, I was just gonna say same, man. Once I read,
Yeah.
like, once I listened to the podcast with you and Chris, and then I looked up your guys' LinkedIn profiles, like, oh, this dude is from Central Computer, so it's around my hood. So I'm like, all
Mhm.
right, I'm gonna reach out to him.
Yeah, for sure, and I'm happy you did, dude. Like, once I saw your comment, I was pumped. Um,
Yeah.
Whoever was with me that day was like, "Yo, I found someone who used to work with, like, same company, dude. I'm so pumped." But yeah,
Yeah,
this is such a good podcast. If
man.
you guys who are listening made it this far, thank you. I will put Rich's social media and all that stuff, every podcast that he does, go check it out. Like, hit him up. Cool dude. He's awesome. And if you guys want to support the podcast as well, you guys don't have to. Will also be a link in the show notes to go on Anchor and become a monthly supporter. Again, you don't have to, but it does definitely help me out. Um, any closing thoughts, Rich, for the viewers
No,
or anyone?
I just want to say thank you. So happy to be here. Keep believing in yourself. Reach out to me if you have any questions about finance or engineering, or if you're in the Bay Area, if you just want to go fishing, just hit me up, man. That's my current thing right now. Or if you want to like learn how to choke someone, hit up my jujitsu gym. I go to two gyms right now. One is called BAME, located in Fremont. And then I go to another one in Pacifica called Motion. So if you guys just want to roll around, learn how to take someone down, choke them, hit up those places.
Sick. All right. Well, thank you guys for listening to episode 3 of the Chau Codes podcast. And we'll see you guys on the next one.
Peace.